Hey, Ocean. So I have three examples here. They are not identical. Well, this one is actually pretty identical. They are not identical to the examples, the questions asked in the quiz, but they are similar. Okay, so we're going to work through each of the examples so that you can get an idea of how they work and help you figure out how to evaluate the questions that are in the quiz. Okay, so in this one, we have a variable grade. Okay, so we have this variable that's a double. It's called grade, and currently the value 58 is stored in here. So the way that this is going to work, we have an if-else block, okay? And so we're going to say if whatever is stored in grade is greater than or equal to 60, the statement between these two curly brackets, the body of the if, whatever statements are in there, they are going to be processed, okay? So if the grade was greater than or equal to 60, this statement would be processed, which would mean you passed is printed to the screen, okay? If grade is not greater than or equal to 60, if that is false, then we're going to move down here to the else statement, and what is within its curly brackets will be processed. So what's within its curly brackets is this print statement that says you did not pass. Okay, so the key here, I think the thing that will help you is think of this as substitution. So currently, the variable grade is storing this value 58. So wherever you see this variable grade referenced, instead of seeing the variable name grade, replace it in your mind with the value 58, okay? Because 58 is what is stored in grade. So when we're referring to the variable grade, we're actually referring to what is stored in it, which is 58, okay? So we're going to come in here and we're going to first look at the condition statement of the if block, right? So if says if grade is greater than or equal to 58, we're just going to plug that 58 in our mind. We're going to plug that 58 here into where grade is, and then we're going to evaluate. We're going to say if 58 is greater than or equal to 60. So let's think about that. 58 greater than or equal to 60. That is false. That's not true. Okay, right? So since it's false, we skip the if and we go right to the else, and the else then is processed. So you did not pass is processed. Okay, so the else picks up whatever is false. Okay, so if this thing was false, it moves on to the else statement, and whatever's inside its curly brackets is what is processed. So in this instance, since grade has 58 in it, and 58 is not greater than or equal to 60, the else is processed and you did not pass is what is printed. So let's run this. You did not pass. Now, let's change this. Let's make this 82, okay? So what happens when double is now 82? Okay, same thing. Every time we see grade then referenced, let's just substitute what is currently stored in grade in its place. So instead of seeing grade here, let's think of it as 82, and then let's evaluate. So it would say if 82 is greater than or equal to 60. So let's think about that. 82 greater than or equal to 60. That is true. 82 is greater than or equal to 60. And since it's true, then whatever is inside the if block is what is going to be processed. And what's inside the if block? It's this print statement that says you passed. Okay? So we're going to run this guy where grade is equal to 82. And it says you passed. Okay, so that's one example. So let's move on to the next example. This one this one has an if, else if blocks and an else block. Okay, so this one here had an if block and an else block. This one has an if block, an else block, but it also, in between those, in between the if and the else block, it has 3 else if blocks, okay? So a couple things to notice. The if block is always going to have this guy here in parentheses. It's always going to have a conditional. It may look different from this, but there's going to be something inside the parentheses that we are going to evaluate if it is true or false, okay? An else if it has if in the name, it's going to have a conditional statement, okay? It's going to have a set of parentheses, and inside of it is going to be some kind of conditional statement that can be evaluated to true or false, okay? Look, what do we got here? We've got another else if is in the name, so it is also going to have a conditional statement that can be evaluated. Come down here to this guy, it's an else if is in the name, so it has a conditional statement. But then we come down here to the else block, and notice it does not have if in its name. It's just an else block, so it actually doesn't have a conditional. It's kind of like the garbage. It's going to pick up whatever did not evaluate to true, okay? So the other thing to understand is it starts at the very top one, and it works its way down. If this evaluates false, it moves down to this guy. If that evaluates to false, it moves down to this guy. If that evaluates to false, it moves down to this guy. And then finally, if that evaluates to false, this else block is going to pick it up, the garbage collector, okay? So in this instance, when you have if, else if, and else, you have these 3 types of selections. You have to have an if at the beginning, and you have to have an else at the end. You can have any number of else ifs you want in the center. You could have 3 like we have here. You could have 7 if you wanted, okay? It's really up to you how many else if blocks you want, okay? But the big thing is, if you're going to have else if blocks, they have to be sandwiched within an else block. Nope, sorry, that's an if block and an else block, okay? Those 2 things, think of it kind of like as a sandwich. The if and the else are the bread, and the else ifs are the inside of the sandwich, okay? Meat, cheese, lettuce, that kind of thing. Okay, so we're gonna look here. So this guy has a variable also called grade, and this guy has a value currently of 72, okay? So now, just like before, everywhere that we saw this variable grade referenced, we're just gonna, in our mind, we're just gonna replace every time we see grade here, 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 and here, we're just gonna replace it with what's actually stored in the variable 72, okay? And then we're going to evaluate with real numbers. Okay, so we're going to start here with the if first. Let's replace grade with 72, and we say if 72 is greater than or equal to 90. So let's think about that. 72 greater than or equal to 90. That is false. Since that is false, we're going to skip that bad boy, and we come down here to the next one. We have else if grade is greater than or equal to 80. Again, since we have a reference to the variable grade, we're just going to substitute 72 there. And now we're going to read it as else if 72 is greater than or equal to 80. Okay, let's think about that. 72 greater than or equal to 80. Nope, that's false. So again, now we're skipping this guy, and we move down to this block, okay? This else if block. So it says else if grade is greater than or equal to 70. Okay, so remember, we replace this reference to grade with what's actually stored in the variable, which is 72, and now let's evaluate. Else if 72 is greater than or equal to 70. Is 72 greater than or equal to 70? It is, it's true. So since that's true, we're going to do what's inside these curly brackets, right? This else if's curly brackets. And what's inside there? There's a print statement that says you earned a C, okay? So let's run this and make sure that you earned a C is what is printed. You earned a C. Okay, so now I'm going to change this value of 92 to, or 72, I'll change it to 90. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this print statement there. That blank line doesn't need to be there. Save, run. Okay, nope, stop. Okay, so at any rate, we changed the value of grade to 90. So now everywhere we see the reference to the variable grade, we're just going to replace it with the value of 90 because that's the value that's stored in grade now. So we come here to this very first one and it says, if grade is greater than or equal to 90, if 90 is greater than or equal to 90, that is true. Since that is true, we're going to process what is in between those curly brackets. And what's in between the curly brackets? You earned an A is, and that's why you earned an A is printed over here. Okay, finally, let's change it one more time. Try to run through this quickly. We'll change it to 50. We'll change grade to 50 so that everywhere that we see grade, we're going to substitute in our mind the value 50 because that's what's currently stored in grade. Okay, so 50 greater than or equal to 90. That's false. We moved on to the next one. 50 is greater than or equal to 80. That is false. We move on to the next one. 50 is greater than or equal to 70. That is false. We move on to the next one. 50 is greater than or equal to 60. That is false. We move on to the next one, which is the else, the garbage collector, right? So picks up whatever didn't get selected. We process whatever is inside its curly brackets, which is a statement that says you earned an F. So when grade has the value of 50 stored to it, you earned an F is what is printed. So let's run this. A little slow. You earned an F. Okay. So then let's take a look at the last example, the switch. Okay, it's important to understand a switch. The thing inside of here, inside the switch, must be of the char variable type. Okay, and a char variable is just, a char variable can only store one character. Anything that can be typed on the keyboard, right? Any of our letters, numbers, special characters, upper, lowercase numbers, any of those things can be a char, okay? So an exclamation point can be a char, a capital R can be a char, a lowercase r can be a char, a 5 can be a char, the addition symbol can be a char, all of these things can be a char, okay? One thing to understand is a lowercase r and an uppercase R are not the same. They will not evaluate as equal. When we think about the equality of a lowercase r to an uppercase R, they are not equal. They are not the same, okay? So what this is going to do is we have a char variable called letter grade. Currently, uppercase C is in it. So the switch, what the switch is going to do is it's going to look at whatever is stored in that variable letter grade, which currently is a uppercase C, and then it's going to move through all of the cases and find the case that matches letter grade. If it doesn't match, if the case does not match what's stored in letter grade, then the default option is going to print or is going to evaluate, okay? So right now, uppercase C is what is stored in letter grade. So it's important to understand it looks like it's single parenthesis or single quotation, uppercase C, single quotation, but that's not the case. That is just how we declare an uppercase C. We have to put it in single quotations. Just like when we declare a string, we have to put that string text inside double quotations. A char variable has to be initialized and declared inside single quotations, okay? So that's the same here. This is not single quotation, uppercase A, single quotation. It's actually just the char value, uppercase A, okay? So currently, uppercase C is stored in letter grade. So we're gonna, everywhere we see letter grade, we're gonna replace it with what is stored in that variable right now, which is an uppercase C. So let's just think about it as this condition is uppercase C. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to move through the cases to see if we find one that matches that exactly. Remember, lowercase c and uppercase C are not the same. So the only way it's going to actually, pick one of these cases is if one of the cases has an uppercase C in it, okay? So we move to the first case, it's an uppercase A, uppercase C, uppercase A, they are not the same. So we move on to the next case. Next case is an uppercase B. Uppercase C and an uppercase B, they're not the same. So we move on to the next one. The next one says uppercase C. An uppercase C and an uppercase C, they are the same character. And since they are the same character, this statement is going to be printed, okay? Now notice, actually, I failed to put something there. First, there's this statement that says the grade points earned are, and then inside the C case is the printing out of what a C represents. A C represents 2.0 grade points, okay? So with letter grade being a C, this case C is going to evaluate, and what will be printed to the screen is the grade points earned are 2.0, okay? Now notice this keyword break here. What that means is once case C is selected and 2.0 is printed to the screen, we break out of this switch. We move out of the switch. So the switch starts at this curly bracket, ends at this curly bracket. This break says move out of it, and it goes, and we jump all the way to the bottom of the switch and we move on to the end of the program, okay? So since letter grade has a C in it, uppercase C, and it matches with case uppercase C, what should be printed is the grade points earned are 2.0. So let's run this. Oh, I already ran it. Slow to run. The grade points earned are 2.0. Okay, so let's do this. Let's watch what happens if I put a lowercase b, okay? So I put in a lowercase b into letter grade. So then I have this reference to letter grade. I'm going to replace it with what's stored in there, which is a lowercase b, okay? So letter grade is a lowercase b. So I come in here, it says case uppercase A. No, a lowercase b and an uppercase A aren't the same. Move on to the next case. This is an uppercase B. Okay, lowercase b and uppercase b are not the same thing, okay? Not in Java. So it moves on to the next one where it says case and it's an uppercase C. A lowercase b and an uppercase C, not the same thing. We move on to case uppercase D, lowercase b, uppercase D, not the same thing. Move on to the next case. We've got case uppercase F, okay? A lowercase b and an uppercase F are not the same thing. And so then finally it moves on to the default, right? Kind of like the else from before. It's going to pick up the garbage. It's whatever wasn't selected, okay? And so it will print invalid grade. So it'll say the grade points earned are invalid grade, okay? Because this lowercase b does not match any of the cases presented, okay? Let's run that. The grade points earned are invalid grade, okay? I'll do one more. I'll do an easy one. We'll do uppercase A, okay? So letter grade has uppercase A in it. Now in the switch where I reference letter grade, instead in my mind, I'm just going to replace it with an uppercase A. And I'm going to then move through the cases until I find either an uppercase A or I come to the default, okay? So I move to the first case. It says case uppercase A. Well, my uppercase A and this uppercase A, they're exactly the same. So then whatever is inside of it is what is going to be evaluated. So this guy will be printed first. The grade points are 4.0. Once that's printed, this break statement will then break the switch, and it will move on to the whatever comes after the switch. And in this case, nothing comes after the switch, okay? But a break breaks you out of the switch. If there was a statement down here after the switch, that would then be evaluated, okay? So for this instance, where letter grade is an A, it should print the grade points earned are 4.0. Let's see how that looks. The grade points earned are 4.0. Okay, so hopefully that explains how to use if-else blocks, if-else blocks, and switch statements. Okay, if after you've watched this, if you still don't feel comfortable, reach out and we can meet to talk about this more. I'll talk to you later. Ciao.